All right, well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you all being here. So I'm going to do a little personality test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 4 shapes. And the very first shape that pops in your head, I want you to just go ahead and write that one out, okay? I'm going to give you 4 shapes. All right, a circle, a triangle, a square, and then a Z. Go ahead and write one out. Very first thing that pops in your head. Okay, got it? Good. Now, if you couldn't get one, that says something about you too. But raise your hand if how many circles do we have in the room? Raise your hand if you're circle. Look around in the room, please. Raise those hands high if you're circles. Look at this. This is great. Oh, go ahead. Put your hands down. Circles, like we are people's people. I mean, we get our energy from interaction. I mean, it totally makes sense why it's such a great company. But, you know, circles, we're just awfully disorganized. Like there's just, I'd hate to see our closet or our car or something. It's, How about the squares in the room? Raise your hand if you're the squares in the room. Please look around. You should be proud if you're a square. These are the smartest people in the room. Absolutely. Straight 4 sides by the rules. Absolutely. And then the triangles. Please raise your hand if you're the triangles here, okay? Make sure you know these individuals have their business cards, because if you need something done, get out of their way. It's going to get done. All right. And then the Z's. So don't raise your hand if you're a Z. Because the only thing you're interested in is booze and sex. So, I know people are changing their answer right now, right? Like, so, would you stop? Would you stop? That was the question that I had to ask myself after this significant life event. You see, there's an email that came across my screen, and the email said that there was going to be a half Ironman that was coming to town. Half Ironman is a 1.2-mile swim, 56-mile bike, and then 13.1-mile run, kind of all together. Now, there were 3 issues with this. Number 1 is I had not been training for this type of race. This is something you want to train to be able to do. 2 is I didn't even own a bike, people. I hadn't biked in about 10 years. You need a bike to be able to do these types of races. And then 3 is this race was in 2 weeks. And so when I'm looking at this, I'm serious. My ego steps right outside my body and starts talking to me and saying, hey, Rob, you can do this. Go ahead and sign up. We know this, right? Like, that's supposed to be funny. That's going to be good. We got to be energetic here. And I was like, no. I started having that conversation. I was like, no, I don't want to do this race. Why would I possibly want to do this? And my ego is telling me, Rob, look, all you got to do is just keep moving. If you don't stop, will you finish the race? And I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I signed up. And the night before the race, whose bike I had borrowed from a guy named Bill, a good friend of mine, I said, Bill, what happens if I get a flat tire out there? He says, would you know how to change it? I said, buddy, I haven't ridden about 10 years, man. Of course not. He said, well, I tell you what, man, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, cool. One less thing. So you kind of see where I'm going on this one. I'm at mile 30 on the bike. I'm cresting, I think, the only hill in Indiana. And as I am cresting that hill, bam, my back tire goes flat. I get up to the top of the hill. I dismount my bike. Sure enough, my back tire's flat. And now hey, ego, where are you, right? And that ego is nowhere to be found now. But my race is done. Like, you just can't keep moving when you can't move. Racers are cresting the hill, and then they're taking off, and I'm like a 4-year-old kid. I'm scrambling around like, what am I possibly going to do? 5, 6, 7 minutes passed, and the clock still's going. Just because you're having a bad day, the clock doesn't stop. And as I'm thinking that my race is done, I need to walk this bike all the way back in, a guy pulls over to the side and asks me, do you have anything to change your tire? And I said, I don't have anything. So he kind of stops, he unzips this little bag, he takes out the air cartridge in his tube, and he tosses it to me. And as I grab it and reach down there, and now I'm like, it's a Disney moment, right? I'm like, wow, thank you so much. I'm never going to forget you. And now what? I'm in a highly stressful environment, really stressed out, and now I'm trying to change a bike tire that I haven't even ridden in 10 years. And as I'm thinking that in my moment, what am I possibly going to do? Another another racer pulls over and asks me, do you know what you're doing? I said, I have no idea. This guy gets off his bike and walks over to me and says, well, let's get you fixed. You see, this other competitor stopped his own race to help me, an idiot, right? Somebody not prepared to handle a situation, didn't respect the race enough, and changes my tire. And it takes him about 3 minutes to do this. The whole ordeal took about 15 minutes, but it was a life-changing event. And I'll never forget Glenn's name because I was repeating it in my head so many times. And then he takes off. I end up finishing the race. I don't recommend doing it with no training. It really, really hurts. And as I finished the race, and then I would tell people this story about what had happened, the question I had to ask myself was, would you stop? So would you have stopped? No. Would you have stopped? Would you? Would you have stopped? Would you have stopped? You know, the answer to that point in my life was absolutely not. I don't think it had anything to do with me not being a good person. This had to do with a race, a competition. And in a race, you do the absolute best that you can do. And I would have felt bad for that individual. But once that moment happened, that life-changing moment, now my answer has changed. And why do I share that one with you? Because what I've discovered from that moment, that life-changing moment about somebody to stop for me, you see, what Glenn understood is that this was about the human race. This was a whole lot more important than just that race. But what I discovered is that no one gets there alone. No one gets there alone. Like even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. No one gets there alone. So the fact of when I started researching people that would actually do this, what I discovered is that a better us makes a better you, and a better you is what makes a better us. And it went so deeper than that. What I discovered is that we cannot help out others in life without also helping out ourselves. I'm going to say that one again. We cannot help out others in life without also helping out ourselves. And let me give you an example. So the awesome work that you do, the day of service that you had, I can almost guarantee that you walk away from the day of service not saying, boy, they are so fortunate I was here to help them. Gleaners should just be thanking me that I was here to donate my time, right? We never say that. What do we say? We say the opposite. We say, they helped me more than I ever helped them. What did they give us? They gave us perspective. They gave us gratitude. They gave us an appreciation for our own problems. We cannot help out others without also helping out ourselves. But here's the key to it, and what I want to share with you today about this concept is that this is by design, it's not by default. Our default mode is protect yourself at all times. See, I think we all have that radio station turned to KU, and we listen to it 24/7 all the time. Is this the station I want to listen to? KU. That's also a funny one, so you got to stay with me, right? But this is what I listen to all the time. This is by design, it's not by default. So when I had the full Ironman, I went into the race thinking in my head, who am I going to be able to help? And so when I saw that individual that's pulled over on the side of the road, he had a flat tire, I didn't hesitate for a second. I pulled over to help this guy. He probably wanted somebody else, but it was me. The other reason why I share that one with you is because of this. This was a hinge moment in my life. Now, what is the hinge? All right, everybody, I'm going to need 20 seconds, your undivided attention. I need all eyes on me. Okay, ready? All eyes on me, 20 seconds, your undivided attention, go. Every door has a hinge. A door without a hinge is a wall. It just doesn't work. So what the hinge is in our lives, if you hear about the doors opening and closing in life, that's because of the hinge. If you hear about a rusty door, it's not the door that gets rusty, it's the hinge that gets rusty. So the hinge in our lives, it's going to be that one person, it's going to be that one moment or that one decision that makes all the difference in our lives. It connects who we are with who we're going to become. Okay, go ahead and space back out. This was a hinge moment. Think about the hinge moments. Now, the part that I always find amazing about the hinge is that we can't connect the dots in life looking forward. We don't know how this mystery is going to work out. We can only connect the dots looking backwards and seeing the impact of that one decision, of that one person, or that one moment. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, years later for us to understand the significance. Think about your hinge moments for a second, because we've all had them. How did you meet your spouse? How did you meet your partner? How did you end up at the career that you're at? Small hinges swing big doors. The other thing that I've come to realize, and I know this to be fact, when it comes to our mental toughness, and mental toughness is all about how we respond to adversity. But the thing that I've discovered is this, is that tragedies that happen in our life are immediate hinges. Death of a loved one, cancer, severe accidents, because from that moment on, everything has changed. Everything is different. And I also know this to be a fact as well, is no matter how bad our situation is, no matter how bleak our outcome looks, it only takes one. We just don't know when that moment's coming. It takes one catch of the ball, one person or one moment to make all the difference. Thinking about your hinge moments, because we can't connect the dots looking forward, can only connect the dots looking backwards and seeing the impact of this. So I'm going to share with you a couple of mine. Number one is this. So I went to a Division II school in West Virginia. This is the best picture I could find of this, because on that other side of that bridge is a cliff. Now, I show the picture of that cliff because when I got to college, I really thought like my 84-mile-an-hour fastball was going to get me to the major leagues. It's a D2 school, but I still thought that. But something happened like my senior year in high school is I started to excel in this thing called partying. Man, let me tell you, if it was a grade, if it was a class, I would have got an A+ in that thing, because I was an all-or-nothing kind of guy. So I get to college, now I have baseball and I have partying and no accountability. This is the best of both worlds. What could possibly go wrong? I show the picture of that because, and if I'm talking to any kind of college groups, what the message that I share with them is a little bit different. I just say, look, nothing good happens after midnight. This was after midnight. For some reason, the team were partying near this bridge, near this cliff, and I end up walking off an 80-foot cliff. I didn't jump. I wasn't pushed. I just had absolutely no idea where I was. I fall off an 80-foot cliff. I hit once, and I'm laying there at the bottom of it. I'm conscious during the whole time. Fractured my back. My arm was broken. Severe amount of pain. I reach up, and just blood is just gushing out of my head. They come. They have to crane me up out of it, and they take me to the hospital where my mom is a nurse, and she knew where my path was headed. She's the oldest of 11 Catholic family. No sympathy on me whatsoever, okay? I want to come home. I'm glad we're getting freshened up. This is good. I want to come home for a couple days. Let me just kind of recuperate. She says, you're going right back to school. I limp back to school. This happens on a Friday. I'm back to school on Monday. Severe amount of pain, a lot of medication, and now I'm that guy. If you've ever been that guy, that's the guy that fell off the cliff. My God. I walk limp in the coach's office, and he tells me, he says, Rob, God was looking out for you, And I said, I know, Coach, I appreciate that. He said, no, you don't understand. God was looking out for you, but you're not going to be playing baseball here. So the tragedies that happen in our life, immediate hinges, because from that moment on, everything was different. And I share that one with you because I think we all have these cliff moments in our life. And what I think we have to do to connect with others is we have to take our mess and we got to turn it into our message. We got to take our test and we have to make it our testimony. We've got to be able to share with others those tragedies that happen in our lives, because I think that's how we connect with others. So if it wasn't for that moment, I would never have found out about sports psychology, and the rest would have been different. Another hinge moment I'd like to share with you is I'm caddying my very first event on the PGA Tour. I meet the golfer this week. He wants to be interested in the mental game and work on sports psychology and needs a caddy. Sure enough. Now, I'm such a good sports psychologist, right? This is a humble brag for a second. I'm so good that we're walking up to the 9th green on the second day of a 4-day tournament, and the leaderboard is up there. Now, the leaderboard usually says the players' names, okay, but in this instance, it said my name. It said Bell, 6 under par. See, I didn't hit a shot, but that's what I thought it said. See, it says Christian 6 under par, but I'm thinking in my head, my myopic viewpoint that I'm the best sports psychologist that there is. This caddying is a piece of cake. I'm going to cash a fat check, and Tiger Woods is going to be calling me up after this tournament. This is the best ever. And so we get up to the 9th green, second day, 4-day tournament. He tosses me the ball. I grab the ball and I reach down. As I reach down, I'm cleaning the golf ball, and the ball just drops right in the bag, right? I reach out, I grab the golf ball and toss it to him. Like, here you go, pro. Bam, makes the putt. 7 under par, first place. We're walking onto the 10th tee box. And as we're walking onto the 10th tee box, a feeling of dread overcame me. And that feeling of dread was one of Gary. That was a Callaway 2 blue circle, right? He wants to know why I'm asking him this. He's focused. He's the Callaway 4 blue circle. Like I had handed him the wrong golf ball. The rules of golf are very specific. You have to start and end each hole with the same ball. At the end of the hole, you can do anything you want with it, but you got to start and end each hole with the same ball. Rules of golf are also very specific that you call all penalties on yourself. We call the rules official over, let him know what happened, bam, 2-shot penalty. Now I want to be real with you for a second. I've had baseballs that have gone through my legs before to lose baseball games. I never felt as small as I did at that moment. The voice that was in my head about how I was the best ever switched into the accuser. Now what the voice was is, you have to be the dumbest person alive. How could you be so stupid? Rob, why don't you set the bag down, go in the parking lot, and go kill yourself? Because it couldn't get any worse than this. That's the voice that was in my head. Talk about mental toughness, right? So he doesn't say anything to me for that next hole. We've got 9 more holes to go here. And feeling like this big, he doesn't say anything to me the next hole after that, nothing. On the 13th tee box, he stops and he looks at me and he says, Rob, he says, look, I need you. He says, either you can't do this mental game stuff or you don't believe it, but I need you. I said something like, okay, man, I can do this. I can do it. And you know what it taught me the power just on that moment right there? It taught me the power of the mental game, because what I think we need to do in life is I think we need to respond, don't react. Respond, don't react. I think our reactions are incorrect. If someone cuts us off in traffic and we react, it's going to be incorrect. If you think about a reactor, like a nuclear reactor, somebody ready just to blow off, if my daughter spills something on the carpet and I react, it's going to be incorrect. But if I can respond, if I can wait 5 seconds, if I can wait 10 seconds and take that deep breath, if I can respond, think about a first responder, somebody trained to handle this situation, cool, calm, and collected. And I never forgot that lesson, because at that moment, if he would have reacted, he would have said, get out of here, someone else can carry that bag. But he didn't. And it taught me the biggest lesson. Now, people always ask, well, how did you finish that week? Well, we finished second that week, unfortunately, by 3 shots. So that one shot didn't really end up to come back to hurt us. So my hinge moments that have happened in my life, I want you to be thinking about yours. So I just need to recap here for a second, okay? And the recap is simply this, is who is talking to you today? Well, let's see. He can't change bike tires in races. He falls off 80-foot cliffs, and he drops golf balls in PGA Tour events. And I'm going to give you proof that it's not about the setback, it's about the comeback, is I'm speaking at Buckingham Company's event today. Thank you. I was practicing with my wife. I said, what happens if I don't get applause there? I said, wait for applause, wait for applause. It's not about the setback, it's about the comeback. It's always about the comeback. What had happened last night was a miracle, right? You have the team that wins the national championship, Virginia, Kyle Guy from right here from Indianapolis, fantastic individual, fantastic person. You wouldn't want a better person in order to win. High character. Last year, Virginia was the number 1 overall seed. They went undefeated in the ACC tournament. They went undefeated in the ACC. That rarely happens. And they became the first team to ever lose to a 16 seed. The death threats that he would get from this stuff. And it's not about the setback, it's about the comeback. How good do you think that felt last night for them cutting down that nets? Always remember that. It's not about the setback, it's about the not about the setback, it's about the comeback. Now, one of the things I always like to do is this, everyone is an athlete. Everyone is an athlete. Our office is just different. So what I want to do is I'm going to prove this to you today, okay? We've all had these interactions, so all I want us to do is let's go ahead and stand up. Stand up at your spot. Now I'm going to show you that everyone is an athlete. Here's what we're going to do. All we're going to do is in unison is we're just going to clap. And the reason why we're going to clap is because a better us makes a better you. A better you makes a better us. Now, Z's that are in the room, I know you're thinking about the cocktail hour, but stay focused here on me, okay? Here's how we're going to clap. What we're going to do is we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cross, and then together. Simple, right? Easy enough. I'm going to show you again. Now, you don't need to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just need to clap, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cross, and then clap, okay? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to let it rip. Ready? All right. Deep breath, get centered. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hey, not bad, not bad. A lot of people just kept on clapping. I kind of get that one. I kind of get that, but here's what's interesting in life too, and I know this to be true, okay, is we don't get any credit in life for being safe, all right? That was a very safe clap. We can be very safe. No one's going to know if we clapping or not, right? But we don't get any credit for being safe. So what I want us to do this time is I want us to be aggressive. Be aggressive with it and let it rip. Let this one loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cross, and then together, all right? On 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow! Boy, that was good. See how everybody's an athlete? I think we can do better. I think we can do better. That was fantastic. Here's what I want us to do this time is when we cross and then together, let's from the gut, okay? Yes, if anybody is sleeping still in this hotel, let them hear this, okay? All right, on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow. Go ahead, have a seat. Have a seat. Boy, everybody's an athlete. Our office is just different. Oh, thank you. I think that one looks pretty good. Think about an athlete mentality for a second. I don't know why I'm wearing this. I just thought. I told Becca, I said, give me one. I want to put that on there. Yeah, absolutely, right? That's good. Very good. But actually what I do have in here is I got a $25 gift card from Starbucks. I love Starbucks. Who wants a gift card? All right, who wants a gift card? Yeah, now we're talking. Table 7, I see you over there. Who wants a gift card from Starbucks? Oh, good, good. What if I do this? Who wants a gift card? Now, who wants $100? Why didn't we jump up and do it? Maybe I didn't know. Maybe I didn't know the rules, right? I didn't know I could run up there and go get it. But we all wanted it. Well, how bad do we want it in life? Are we willing to do whatever it takes? See, the thing that I think what keeps us from doing that a lot of times is fear. Like, I don't want to fear looking stupid. You're going to rip that off of me, but what are you doing? I think fear is what keeps us a lot of times. And if we ever experience fear, then we're an athlete, because all athletes experience fear at some point. Think about what an athletic mindset is, right? What an athlete mindset is. As an athlete, we're going to lose. We're going to have losses. I think we're going to lose and have small losses more than we're ever going to win. As an athlete, we train more than we're ever going to play. The amount of preparation that goes into a presentation, the amount of preparation that you do, it's a whole lot more than we actually play. We're also going to have wins in life. As an athlete, we're going to have wins. Again, our office is just different. And the other part about being an athlete is what? We show up in conditioned, in shape, mentally, spiritually, physically. Now, we don't have to be able to play 90 minutes on the pitch, a soccer game or anything, but we have to show up. As an athlete, we show up. And the other part about being an athlete, our office is just different, is as an athlete, we compete. We compete. Now, when we hear the word compete, I think we think beating an opponent, beating somebody else or another company. When we hear compete, we need to think about the most difficult opponent that there is. You see, the most difficult opponent has a strategic advantage over us. The strategic advantage is our opponent is ourselves. Our opponent is our own mind, our own mentality. What I mean by that, my mind knows every one of my weaknesses. If you try and play somebody that knows exactly how you're going to play, it's really tough to beat that person. You see, what's interesting is that our mind is not focused on being the best at getting better. Our mind cares nothing about us being great. Our mind has one job, and that is simply to keep us safe. How do we stay safe? Be warm and cozy. We're going to be safe. That's our mind's job. So our mind has a strategic advantage because anytime we try and push ourselves or step out of that comfort zone, it's automatically throwing the brakes and saying, hey, no, don't want to do this. As an athlete, we have to compete, and we're competing against the most difficult opponent that there is. So in order to be the best at getting better, we have to be able to compete against ourselves and our own mind. That's the difficult part. Now, just by a show of hands, okay, do I have permission to share with you three different ways that I think we can get better? Not everybody at once. Just a show of hands. All right, I got the right side of the room. Just raise your hand if you just raise your hand. Okay, good. Great. Because I asked for permission, I want to be able to coach you up here on this part and how this all comes together. How do we compete? Could I get a water? Sorry. Check out this picture here for a second. You know, this picture, if you looked at it, you wouldn't know who the reigning gold medalist is in this picture. You would think it's Michael Phelps. And Michael Phelps dominated the 200 fly for many years. But the reigning gold medalist in this race was Chad Leclos from South Africa. In 2012, he ended up beating Michael Phelps, not expected to do it, no pressure on him whatsoever. He beats Michael Phelps to win the 200 fly gold medal. And in 2016, in his preparation for this, now all the expectations, all the pressure was on him. And you know what he started doing? Is he didn't run his race. Thank you so much. He didn't swim his race. He was so focused on beating Michael Phelps because all the questions were, can you do it again? And at the moment of truth, when it was so difficult for him to when he needed to focus on himself in that last 50, you see that iconic picture of him peeking and looking. He didn't even medal in this Olympics. Didn't even medal in 2016. Michael Phelps wins the gold medal there. He finishes fourth. Now, it's not about the setback, it's about the comeback. Pay attention to what he does in 2020. But the point is we need to stay in your lane, bro. We need to run, I'm glad you got that. We need to run our race. Like that lane line is there for a reason. We need to run our race. Because too often, and this is at the best in the world, they're even looking to see what their competitor's doing. And we get away from running our race. 3 ways that I think that we run our race and how this is important. Number 1, focus on the goal. Step number 1 to running our race is, can we focus on the goal? So some people sign up for 100-mile races. The goal is to finish. Some people sign up for a marathon. Their goal was for a sub 4-hour marathon. Some people sign up and they want to win the race. They want to win. So let me ask you a question. In your job and in your role, do you know what success looks like? Like, do you know what that win looks like? And I don't mean like the SMART goals that we write out and stuff like that, but do you know what a win looks like? Do your employees know what a win looks like? Or do we just mistake action for achievement? Do we just stay busy for the sake of being busy? So what's the first step when it comes to actually focusing on our goal? You know, I'll talk with a lot of people and I'll ask them, they say, I know you got that race that's coming up, in a month, and, how's everything going? I know you signed up and everything. And they'll say, well, I didn't sign up yet. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I want to make sure the run on Saturday goes well. If that goes well, then I'm going to go ahead and sign up. And that's the wrong way that we go about competing against ourselves. You see, a lot of times we start testing ourselves. If this run on Saturday, if that goes well, then I'm going to go ahead and sign up for that race because then I'll be ready. Well, all we're doing is we're just testing ourselves when we need to get in that mindset of training ourselves. We need to train ourselves, not just test ourselves, because the moment we sign up, our whole attitude and outlook on life changes. Now we have a goal. Race directors really came up with a fascinating way to separate you from more of your money. If you ever do these races and you sign up, there's going to be that box there at the bottom, right? And the box says this: check this box, spend a little more money, but if you check this box, if you don't show up for the race, we're going to give you some of that money back. It gives us an out. And the way that I see when life works is if we have that out, we're going to take it all the time. That's how our mind wins. Our mind isn't focused on us challenging ourselves and getting better. Our mind wants us to take that escape door. It wants that out. So what I challenge us to do is don't check that box. When it comes to life and having a goal, we are all in or we're just in the way. We are all in or we're just in the way. Are you in a position that you seriously want to be in? Because if you don't want to be in the role that you're in, there's no point on signing up. You haven't signed up. We check the box. And when it really, really gets tough, when that goal starts staring us in the face, it's going to be too difficult. How do I know if we're in the right position or not in life? It comes back to our purpose and why do we do what we do. Our why in life has to make us cry. If it doesn't, it's not our why. It's not deep enough. But we can find our why. We can come up with any how. We'll find a way. But that's the very first step is, man, have we signed up? Are we all in? Second part about it is what we need to do is we need to focus on the process. You see, Virginia didn't focus on winning a championship. A focus on our goal doesn't lead to achieving that goal. A focus on the process does. And what I say is that the process is more important than the actual product. So, who knows what this is? What is it? Water pump, right? It's a water pump. I had no idea that this water pump right here was going to be such a significant teacher in my life. What we did is we would go down to Tennessee and we would work the farm the very first week in August, me and my brother, and that was our vacation. So we'd work there. The hottest part of the year, and I think my dad really had this strategic, right? Because I remember going to him and saying, Dad, I don't want to do this work for a living. What do I have to do? He said, well, either get faster on your fastball or stay in school. Hey, I'm in. I'm all in because this is hard work. So it was one of those days what we needed is we just needed water. It was a hot day, real hot. And it's about closing time. It was about shutting down. And my grandfather is driving the truck. My great uncle was in the passenger seat. And it's me and my brother that are in the back. Of course, we had a dog back there too, right? The dog was Rufus. And I remember we pull around this big red barn in the pickup truck, and there was a water pump. So my grandfather hops out and he says, Robert, he says, Go up there, start pumping that water pump, and we'll get some water going in there. And so I start pumping that water pump, right? Now, this is a big one. I mean, it's 2 hands. I start grabbing that water pump. I pump up there, and I'm pumping as I'm pumping, and no water's coming out. And I start thinking, boy, if water going to come out here. My grandfather says, Robert, just so you understand, the wells down here in Tennessee are deeper. That water's going to be cooler and fresher than anything you've ever tasted in your life. I'm like, great, because I am thirsty. Let's get it going. And no water is coming out. My grandfather tells my brother, Jimmy, go get that bucket because I think some water is getting ready to come out. And nothing is coming out. As I'm pumping, I'm thinking, man, is there going to be any water in here? And I mean, as I'm getting tired, this is 2 hands pumping this thing. And as I'm pumping, I take my hands off the pump. As I take my hands off the pump, my grandfather yells at me, Robert, whatever you do, don't stop pumping. Because what happens if I stop pumping? How far down does the water go? The water goes all the way back down. You know, in life, I think a lot of times we show up and we're like, here, give me some water and then I'm going to pump you. We go and you say, man, just make me a boss and then I'm going to show you what a great worker I'm going to be. Imagine a farmer that does that, right? The farmer's going to say, Lord, I didn't plant any crops this year, but if you give me the best crop ever, next year I'm going to plant more crops than you've ever seen in your life. See, we want the product before the process. We want to show up here and we want that product. But are we willing to do that process? You know, we think that this is about hard work, and it is. But there's something more important here. Whatever we put in is what we're going to be getting out. Whatever we put in, what do we put in our mindset? You're not good enough, Rob. You know what? You're okay with a speaker, but Kevin's a whole lot better than you. All right, but what I need is, but give me confidence. Doesn't work that way. Whatever we put in is what we're going to be getting out. Whatever we put in. So the importance when it comes to protecting our mind, taking every thought captive, we got to be so careful about what we say to ourselves. Because we're listening. We're listening to that stuff. And then I'm pumping, finally, the water starts coming out. And the beauty about this, when it comes to life and it comes to our goals and it comes to running our race, is once that water starts coming out, I don't need to keep going crazy. I just need to keep that nice, steady pump on there. Right? Y'all like this? When it comes to our habits and what we do in life and our preparation, is we don't need to be crazy about our preparation. We just need to be consistent. We need to be consistent with our thoughts, with our habits and our action towards others. We don't need to be crazy, we just need to be, stay with me. We don't need to be crazy, we just need to be consistent. Consistent. If we can focus on the process, the product is going to take care of itself. What are the habits? What are the things that we do every day? Then the other part. Anybody in here do the Boston Marathon last year? Just by chance. You got 20 people in the back. Good. How do we run your race? Focus on others. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. Focus on others to run our race. You just said, stay in your lane, bro. Like, why are you looking over? What does that mean? Well, here's what it means. Des Linden, last year, the Boston Marathon, it was the worst conditions they've ever had in the Boston Marathon. It was high 30s when the race started. It was low 30s when the race ended. Torrential downpours the whole time. 30 to 40 mile an hour headwinds the whole race. The worst conditions they've ever had. And so Des Linden, at mile 6, she tells one of the fellow Americans, that Shalane Flanagan, who has a chance to possibly win this thing, that I'm going to drop out. She tells us she's going to drop out. But she says, look, if you need anything, if you need me to block the win or anything, just let me know. So the next mile, Shalane Flanagan says, can I go use the bathroom? Not for her to go with her or anything, but can I go use the bathroom? Des Linden says, okay, I'm going to hold up that group and I'll wait for you. She waits for her fellow competitor to use the bathroom, come back, and then they catch back up. Why do I share that story? Because at mile 13, Shalane Flanagan was the one who had dropped back. But Des Linden gets this thing that we all get in our life. We just don't know when it's coming. She gets that second wind. That second wind. At mile 20, she's in third place, and she ends up passing the other two women to become the first American to win the Boston Marathon since 1985. Ruckus applause for her, like I had anything to do with it. But, yeah, right? Think about that. She focused on somebody else, and that helped her. This is by design. It's not by default. We have to be in this mode. So why did she do that, and how does that help us out? Focusing on others. Well, see, what happens is we get stuck inside our own head. Our own head, our own mind wants us to be safe. And then when we get stuck inside our own head, unable to make decisions on whether or not we should do this or do that, when we get stuck inside our own head, we're behind enemy lines. How do we get outside of our own head? Focus on others. Focus on others. And I'm going to tell you, this is exactly how this works, right? Is the most difficult person to coach in our lives is ourselves. It's the most difficult opponent. I can't coach myself. I can't. I don't think we were meant to be put on this earth to coach ourselves. I think we need to allow others to coach us. And then here's how it works. Here's how we get outside of our own head. Is I cannot help out others without also helping out myself. If I can tell you that you just keep going, all right? And you don't give up, and you're doing fantastic, right? And you, beautiful, right? You're doing great. If I can coach others up, you know who I'm really coaching up? I'm coaching myself up at the same time. See, that's the secret that we never ever got, right? We never got that. If I can focus on others, then it doesn't become who's the best on the team. It becomes who's the best for the team. This is by design. It's not by default. What's the feedback? How do we have to do this? You see, John Gottman studied the most important relationships in life. He studied marriages. He studied marriages, and he looked at over 20,000 marriages, University of Washington. He could decipher with over 90% accuracy which marriages were going to be successful and which marriages were going to fail. And what it came down to, what he discovered is it came down to the interactions that we had with one another. And what he found out, the positive to negative interactions that we had with one another. The unsuccessful marriages were one positive touch point to every one negative touch point. It was equal from positive to negative. Why would that be? Well, think about it. The negative far outweighs the positive. I can't come home at night and say, honey, wow, that dinner really sucked, but I like your shirt. Thank God that one worked. Man, the negative far outweighs the positive. We remember the negative. We remember the time we got stuck at the airport rather than the 20 great flights that we've had. We remember that one bad experience rather than 20 great ones. The negative outweighs the positive. So what did the successful marriages, what did they come up with? They found that the ratio from positive to negative interactions, that this was the formula. It was 5-to-1. 5 positive interactions, 5 positive touch points to every one negative one. So what we might be thinking is that when that negative thing happens to you, right? When somebody says something negative to you, when you have that negative review, when somebody puts a downer on your life, and we all go through that adversity, but when we're faced with that moment, we might be thinking, I need to go find 5 positive interactions, and that's the point that we're missing the boat. You see, what we need to do is we need to go give 5 positive interactions to people. Because if I can tell you how much I believe in you, if I can tell you that you're the best, I can tell you I believe in you, I believe in you. Doesn't matter how I send it, text message, email, hey, just thinking about you. Who am I helping out? I'm coaching myself up at the same time. And my problem's still going to be there, but here's the secret. I'm not focused on it. I'm not focused on myself, and that's how I get outside my own head. If I can focus on others. Now, I've got one more point to make with you. And I really find this to be important because in life, and especially when you present and play, you got to finish strong, right? Like, we've got to finish strong. I don't want to be up here like pancakes, You know, like we're all excited at first, and then at the end, like we're just sick of them. So let's finish strong. The Good Samaritan. We know this story. The Good Samaritan. People are on the road. They pass the old man who needs help. Everybody passes him, but the Good Samaritan, that's the person that stops and nurses this person back to health. That's how we know about the Good Samaritan. So some researchers wanted to see if this held water. They wanted to replicate this actual study. So what they did is they went to they went to a seminary school, very homogeneous group. They went to a seminary school and they divided them into two groups. See, they told one group to show up at this building, you're going to read on the Good Samaritan, so they're going to be primed to be thinking about it, and they're going to walk across campus and to go teach that to a new group of students. And on the way across campus is when they're going to see that person on the sidewalk. The research question is, would you stop? The other group that was to show up was going to read what life was like in the seminary. They were going to take that, walk across campus. But they threw a little wrinkle in the study. You see what they told some of the participants? They said, oh my gosh, you better hurry up. You better hurry. You're late. They put them in a hurried condition. The other group, they said, take your time heading over there. They're going to be ready for you. Non-hurried condition. And then what did the results show? You see, it didn't matter if they were primed to even be thinking about the Good Samaritan. It made no difference on the group. The only difference that it made was if they were in a hurried condition or non-hurried condition. Those that were in the non-hurried condition stopped 68% of the time to be able to help that person. Those that were in a hurried condition, 10% of the time. Think about that. Because we're busier now in our lives than what we've ever been before. If you're driving down the side of the road, or if you're driving down the road and somebody's broken down, how long do you have to think on whether or not you're going to stop and help that person? A half second? If we're not tuned to be focusing on others, we go back to our default mode all the time, and our default mode is protect yourself at all times. No one gets there alone. Has to do with the people that we need to help in our lives. This is by design. It's not by default. But here's the interesting part, is what we do in life is we plant trees that we're never going to see. We plant trees whose shade that other people are going to enjoy, because I can't know the impact of being able to tell somebody that I believe in you. We have no idea the impact to be able to tell somebody like, hey, you're doing great, just keep it up. We can't know the impact. You know, on your cell phones right there, on my cell phone, I've got a voicemail message that I saved from 2012. Voicemail message was from my professor at Shepherd University who knew all the stuff I went through. And he gave me a message saying, I saw your talk and keep it up. Like, it was great. You knocked it out of the park. I saved that voicemail message. 2012, I've left thousands of messages for other people. I can't tell you one thing that I said on anybody else's voicemail. We have no idea the impact that our words or actions are going to take in life. But if we take no action, there will be no results. If we listen to our mind, being happy and cozy, no impact's ever going to happen. And then here's the head fake, right? Head fake in basketball got you going this way. I want you to think this way. Here's the head fake. 10 seconds, trying to divide attention, all eyes on me. Ready? 10 seconds. You are the hinge. And can you be the hinge for other people? We think about how these hinge moments have happened to us, but can you be that hinge, the most important person in somebody's life that you're going to make such a difference that you might not even know about ever? I can guarantee you right now that somebody looks up to you and you're the most important person in somebody's life. Like what Kevin said earlier, right? You're the most important person in somebody's life. Somebody looks up to you and makes a difference. And the only part that I want us to take moving forward here, right, to be able to run our race and stay in our lane, is this is by design. It's just not by default. Thank you all so much. God bless.